So I have to ask too about the decision-making process because I find that interesting. So you
Yeah.
said, when you make a decision, you kind of just work under the premise or the assumption that it was the right decision and you move on. My
Mhm.
first reaction as I hear that is, ooh, that sounds risky because, how do you know if you make a bad decision? How do you,
Yeah.
maybe sometimes you do actually make bad decisions. But as
Right.
I was thinking about it after you said it, maybe there's kind of a philosophical
Yeah.
mathematics to it almost where like, as long as you keep moving forward and you're willing to keep moving on, even if some
Mhm.
decisions weren't the right ones or there's a different path you should be taking, you'll figure that out in the next decision. Is that kind of the thinking of it?
Yeah, I mean, it's really like it's coming together in like setting your own frame as far as how you want to operate in life and how you want to view like your choices and your actions. I think a
Mm,
lot of people operate under the assumption that someone else will clarify their decisions, that someone else will help, reveal, oh, was that the right decision? Will I get feedback from my manager, my boss that kind of shows it that it was the right decision? Will I get feedback from colleagues or friends? When in reality, like I guess we're going to go pretty philosophical here pretty quickly, but in reality for me it's like the decisions that we make are all within your own like perceptive framework. It's all within your own perception.
mm,
So if you make, say, a poor choice, if you you know buy a Corvette when you don't have any money, right? That objectively in like the framework of how money systems and how the world operates was a bad decision. But as long as you operate under the assumption that I made the right decision and I can handle it, like
mm.
you're going to end up getting within that framework, you're going to end up getting the funding for it, or you're going to go out and find enough, a way to pay for that, or you're going to go out and find like how to make that decision work. So for me,
Huh.
it's like if I make a bad decision, I don't want to dwell on the fact that it was like, oh wow, that was the worst choice I ever made, and now I have to go back and undo 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months of time and energy put into it. It's more like, okay, no matter what that decision was, how can I make it the right choice?
Mm.
How can I make it work for me in my life, and how can I make it work within the perception of everyone else in the world?
Yeah, there's a part of that that I love because there's something about it where to kind of to where you're getting at before, like once you make that decision, once you commit to something and you decide that's what you want, you
Mhm.
find a way to make it happen, and it kind of gives you the
Exactly.
motivation and the drive and the confidence you need. There's a
Hmm.
part of it that scares me a little bit too, though, just because I guess going back to that point, if you make a bad decision, or maybe and as you said, it maybe technically or objectively a bad decision,
Hmm.
and then you find a way to make it work, you could just be like taking actions that you now need to do just because the decision you made maybe wasn't the
Hmm.
best decision. So you could end up chasing a bad decision, I guess,
Sure.
ultimately. So how do you protect against that? How do you make sure, how do you step back and make sure you're not going down a whole thread of bad decisions or bad actions?
Yeah, that's absolutely a great question. I mean, I think the starting point is don't make bad decisions. I guess would be
Sure.
where I want to start with. Like, if you have $10 in your account, don't go buy a Corvette.
Right.
That's just it's more for like for me. I mean, I definitely want to strategize and plan and make sure things make sense. So I guess I should have clarified that the decisions
Great.
that I'm talking about here are like decisions that I have put thought into and put real effort into making sure, okay, does this work with my life? Does this work with like how I'm operating? Does this
Yeah.
does this is this authentic to who I am and like the things that I'm trying to do in life? And as long as like I hit those check boxes, even if the decision ends up not panning out the way I wanted it to or not working the way I wanted to, I can still be confident that I did it because I vetted it first. I put the effort
Yeah.
into making sure it was at least on some level um, uh, a good opportunity,
Hmm.
a good place to be. Whether or not that pans out is for the future to find out. But
Yeah.
as long as
No.
once that decision is made, you operate within that like it was the right decision. Now you're going to go through and like be much more confident with every action you take within that new area.